December meeting of Fermanagh Noma District Council in the Town Hall in Enniskillen this evening, and also via WebEx. So, Fáilte Roy Vilig, Mar Chorluri, you're all very welcome. And you all have the agenda papers. You'll have read them thoroughly. And there's 33 item agenda. I like to say that at the outset. Before I come to apologies, a couple of items I want to raise. Last week, myself and Alison, as Chief Executive, met with the Assembly Health Committee, prior to their meeting in Enniskillen and their visit to the hospital, to SWA. Had an informal meeting with them at the Killyhevlin. And a lot took place that day, and a lot will have been reported. For example, the Trust confirmed that the decision has been taken in respect of emergency general surgery at SWA. And this is new information, and it's something we'll want to look at as a council. There's also maybe a concerning level of disengagement from the Trust with us. It has been pointed out to me, for example, that the Chief Executive of the Trust hasn't met with us for some considerable time. I could check the accuracy of this, but it's many, many months, running into years, I think. And then there's other developments, like the Trust cancelling the meeting with SOAS. Okay. SOAS cancelled that meeting out of dissatisfaction with developments, okay. And then there's the Strategic Development Group, issues arising there as well. We haven't been appraised formally by the Trust of even a winter preparedness plan. So we'll deal with those issues in the course of the meeting, but we'll want to establish what is going on. And then obviously then the ICLRD report is now available and will have been read by members and other people in the public and other interested stakeholders. So we're going to have a webinar very shortly on the ICLRD report. So there's lots of things happening in the health world of considerable concern to us. So I wanted to mention that in Chair's business. And some good things that have happened recently, there are many. For example, earlier today we had a lovely visit to the Town Hall of Bright Stars. The Bright Stars are brilliant in Enniskillen and throughout Fermanagh. And Sky's the Limit will be visiting the Grange similarly later this week, for a kind of a get-together. And they're really friends of the council, and there's nothing more socially inclusive, I believe, than Bright Stars and Sky's the Limit. So some good things. I was pleased that the Vice Chair was able to join myself and the Chief Executive at a dinner at Dunullu to mark 30 years of Dunullu. We had the visit of the Lord Mayor from Dublin, our housing conference, our recent seminar on health and well-being, and very many other things, including in Omagh, the rail tragedy commemoration, which was very, very important. And so there's lots going on. Everybody knows that's only a snapshot of what's going on, and there's many things going on in your world as individual councillors. So I just wanted to remind people that there's some very good things taking place and some considerable amount of things on the health front of worry and concern. Debbie, do you want to come in on this?
It was, sorry, Chair, I shouldn't come in at this point, but it was just because you mentioned about the Trust, and I noticed myself this week or last week actually, where they cancelled our November meeting, and there's no future meetings planned at all. And our last meeting, which I think was back in September, was a workshop. I felt that was quite a successful meeting, and yet they've not tied in with us at all. And I'm not sure if I can propose anything at this stage, but I would like to propose that we write to the Trust to find out exactly what their vision is and how they are proposing to tie in with the council, because we've been having these meetings with them now for the last few years. The last time we met seemed a positive enough meeting. So, and they just seem to have pulled pulled the meetings. There's no dates for next year or anything, and I think that's quite concerning. Especially we've got our report coming out, our webinar on Wednesday, and yeah, I just think it's very concerning. So if we can write to them to find out exactly what their intentions are and how they're going to work with us in the future.
Okay,
Thanks, Chair.
webinar on Thursday, as you know, Debbie, on Thursday, and then go to Councillor Warrington.
Thank you, Chair. Well, having spoke to the Chief Executive earlier, I think the Trust's response to us as a body at the minute is very disturbing. There has been nothing. I think the Chief Executive hasn't met with us as a group, the Health Committee, in over 2 years, and that in itself is very unsatisfactory. And plus, some of the comments that was made last week after the visit, that they had to hear comments like small beer, stuff like that, very, very, very unsettling, and it's obvious that the Trust has their mind made up of what we were going. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair. Well, as I just referred to with something that Councillor Coyle had referred to there, and I suppose we had our meeting with representatives of the Trust down in South West Acute Hospital in September, which was a workshop type thing. And as she said herself there, it was quite positive. We had a subsequent meeting in the Grange of our Health and Social Care Services Subcommittee, which there was not a lot of information at, and it was disappointing. But it is disappointing too that we have not met with Mr. Guckian. Neil Guckian has not been available to meet us at any stage, maybe probably in the last 2 years. My memory serves me right, Chief Executive. So that is disappointing. So hopefully in the not too distant future, in the new year, in 2026, early in it, that we'll have an opportunity to meet Mr. Guckian and his Trust team.
And we'll be revisiting
Sure.
some of this in correspondence. Okay, Councillor Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. That's I was kind of going to say what you've just done. We've kind of stumbled onto that item of correspondence. Would it be appropriate to make comments about that at this stage, or to wait?
I think I would like to take the correspondence at that appropriate point, if you don't mind, Adam.
That's okay, Chair. So in general, though, obviously that correspondence does mention potential meetings. I think the contents of the Health Committee, the Stormont Health Committee meeting, were particularly shocking. Really, and you do have to question, and the public are asking questions about the Trust, about their intentions. Is it incompetence? Is it maliciousness? What is their actions here? That's what the public are asking, and I think, and I'll ask the Chief Executive later at the appropriate point about how we can engage them, because I think they really, really need to be interrogated, because in effect, what they've said in that is that the whole thing, the whole consultation on emergency general surgery was a sham. The decision was made. In effect, they lied to every single member of the public, every single member of this chamber, every elected representative. So that is shocking, absolutely shocking. But Chair, I will comment further on that at the correct point.
And Councillor Roof.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, mostly to echo what's been said so far, but one point that really stuck in my paw was regarding the fact that they couldn't return it under the current general surgery standards that came in a couple of years ago. That is very frustrating in that other parts of the UK, the general surgery standards being changed was to keep us in line with the rest of the UK. And there are plenty of hospitals dotted all across the UK that do not meet those standards, that have emergency general surgery in their hospitals. There's areas in North Devon, for example, in Barnstaple, very similar sized town to ourselves, actually closer to Exeter and to Plymouth hospitals than we are, and they have emergency general surgery and they don't meet the standards. So it's very, very frustrating to hear that, and for us to be told one thing when there is a reality elsewhere in the UK. And our reality in Fermanagh is that if we were based anywhere else in the UK, we would still have emergency general surgery, and if it had been suspended, it'd be back by now. Thank you.
And I think one of the biggest concerns is the pretense of consultation when they're saying that the decision is effectively made and concluded. But anyway, that's in the opening section of the meeting to reflect its importance Okay, so I'm going to move now till, and don't forget some of those positive things either that we're all involved in. You know, everybody's involved. Like, for example, both main towns' Christmas light switch on events were hugely important, and they're also taking place in smaller towns and villages and settlements. So we can all support those community cheer events. Okay, so I go now to item 1 on the agenda, and I'll ask Councillor Coyle for the Sinn Féin group. Apologies.
Councillor McCann.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. I go now to Councillor Warrington.
Not aware of any. We're all here, and I think Councillor McSlaughry's online.
Yep.
Thank you.
What do we say? Thanks very much. And Councillor Robinson?
No apologies, Shirley's online.
Okay. Okay, SDLP okay here. Okay, and Alliance is okay, either in the chamber or online. And Josephine's here. Garvin has sent apologies. Isn't that right? Okay, thanks very much. Members, so now, members, we go to the second item on the agenda, which is to sign and confirm minutes of the council meeting held on the 4th of November, paper A. So this is not for matters raised, this is for accuracy only. So it amounts till 22 pages. So page 1, page 2, 3, 4 and 5, 6 and 7, 8 and 9, 10 and 11, 12 and 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 and 22. So I'll take a proposer for the accuracy. Councillor Thompson and Councillor Robinson have obliged, proposed and seconded, and that's agreed, members. So go now till item 3 on the agenda, and that is to confirm and sign the special council meeting minutes. So if I could just have that from your pack, Alison, doesn't always work out perfectly for me here. So we've got something like 7 or 8 pages here, 7 to sign off on. So this is for accuracy only. Councillor Coyle, do you want to come in on an accuracy point?
No, it's just to give apologies for Councillor Podgeen Kelly. I've just received them there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so in relation to accuracy, and we're now at item 3 on the agenda, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, and page 7. Again, I'll look to this side of the room, Anne-Marie Donnelly, and a seconder, Councillor Robinson, thank you. So Councillor Donnelly and Councillor Robinson proposed and seconded the accuracy of same. And then we'll move till declarations of interest. So I'll look around the room and online for those. And I'll go now to Councillor Ovens. Mark?
Thank you, Chair. It's firstly a few items of correspondence. So it's 5.2, item 4.4, and then the first 2 items under 18.5. I think they're the additional correspondence. And then just the report under 5.3, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members in the room wish to declare interest in any matter? If not, I'll proceed. And I'll proceed now to item 5 on the agenda. So we're going to look at the council meeting of Tuesday the 4th of November. Matters arising. Okay. So page 1. Again, there's those 2 events are referred to. Page 2. Page 3. Page... Councillor Hayes?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's just on page 4, under
Yeah.
4.4. We're still, unless they've sent it in the last 10 minutes, they're still waiting on a response to my question back on the 15th of September around the newly qualified nurses, whether they can only apply to one trust, and also how many nurses who completed their placement at SWA have been offered posts there. I mean, it's not a very complicated question. Been waiting since the 15th of September. So that's both for the Tinner Minister and the Trust. Haven't had an answer from either of them. So can we write to them again and express our disappointment and frustration it's taken this long? Please,
Okay.
Chair, thank you.
So We moved seamlessly there from 3 to 4, and Councillor Hayes has raised an issue under 4.4. Okay. Oh, why? You wanted to come in on an earlier point? Okay. Debbie, Councillor Coyle?
Thanks, Chair. Mine was actually 4.2. It's not so much the electoral office that I want to raise an issue with. It's actually with the Department of Foreign Affairs and people applying for an Irish passport. A lot of people are getting refused when they send off photographic ID, and the photographic ID is their electoral card. But some people are being accepted and some people are not. And then when they're not, they're told to apply for a UK citizenship card, which some of them have done, and then some of them are accepted and some of them not. So can I propose that we write to Department of Foreign Affairs, please, to find out exactly what photographic evidence is acceptable for people who are living here in the north when they're applying for their Irish passport?
Okay. And the
Thank you.
relevant minister there is Helen McEntee, isn't that right? Okay, thank you. Would you be of a mind, Debbie, to second Councillor Hayes' proposal? Okay. Okay. Go now to Councillor Gannon.
I believe Councillor Hayes had said she would second Councillor Coyle's. I'll do that, but I was coming in on item 4.4 or on the...
Just before you do, Alison wants to come in 4.3, I believe. But that's agreed, isn't it? That course of action is proposed. Okay, thank you. The both courses of action. And I'll take you or Adam Gannon here, Councillor Gannon, as a seconder for the other proposal. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Chair, thank you. It was just to note at the top of page 4 to confirm we have the informal meeting with Rural Community Network on the 16th of December at 4 o'clock by Teams, and that's specifically around rural parliaments and the recent visit to Scotland.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So as many councillors are interested, please make sure that's in your diaries.
Somebody's a correspondence in 4.4.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Chair, just maybe before members come in, we have a number of items of related correspondence for item 4.4. So, firstly, we have had a response, and this is in your other folder, from the Health Minister in relation to the Council's concerns about the widening of the scope of work, which we had understood to be about the vision for SWA, and the Minister has responded on that and set out the details regarding the wider considerations. Then in the second other letter, it's from SOAS, and this is in relation, Chair, to the meeting that was referenced at last month's council meeting that was hopefully going to be held towards the end of November. And then we also have the trust letter regarding those arrangements and the meeting logistics. So in summary, members will be aware that SOAS had made a number of suggestions for the agenda, had also requested, Chair, that you would act as an independent chair for the meeting and that we would host the meeting here in the Town Hall. The Trust had indicated in the response to SOAS that given your previous position of support for the SOAS roadmap, that you wouldn't, in their view, be deemed as independent to chair the meeting. They were not willing on this occasion for the meeting to be live streamed, and I understand there were also some other amendments to the agenda. So as a result of that, Chair, SOAS opted not to proceed with the meeting. Members will have seen from the letter from the Trust that they have then indicated that they would be willing, if that meeting didn't proceed, for a three-way meeting to involve the Council, SOAS and the Trust to take place, and that presumably could be chaired by you, Chair, and also could be streamed. And SOAS have indicated, given their concerns about some of the comments at the Health Committee meeting, that they would not be minded to proceed with the meeting at this stage. So that's really just the summary of those various items, Chair, all attached to item 4.4.
Okay, thank you. So obviously I want to take Councillor Gannon here. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just firstly, obviously I propose to note the correspondence. The Minister's response is fairly boilerplate. The one thing is he's reassured about the trusts. The trust's working on this. I don't know what planet he's on. Given that Health Committee meeting and given that this letter was after that Health Committee meeting says a lot. But I do want to go into this letter that specifically that the trust. So firstly, Chair, it's been acknowledged before, they refused yourself as chair, which to be honest, I think is a complete insult to your professionalism. You know, we might be different political parties with different views, but I would acknowledge you have great experience in many roles. And, you know, I think you've proven yourself to be able to act fairly and impartially, even when criticism is maybe directed to your own party's way. You give everyone a fair hearing, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they made that decision, and frankly is quite insulting. But obviously that's up to yourself, Chair, how to take that. But I will say this letter states that they're going to be open and transparent, yet the Trust's actions are the opposite. They're refusing live streaming, the complete opposite of openness, the complete opposite of transparency. You couldn't write it. You know, they wonder why there's no community faith in them and the board. But there's your reason just there. Any reasonable person would say this letter and their actions are hypocritical of each other. And the body of the letter mentions about data that they have, you know, their data is poor, to say the least. No confidence testing. My students do this, in medical practice, 95, 99% confidence. And they said to me, oh, we haven't done the tests that need to be done because we don't have enough data. Yet you have enough data to try and be underhand and propose this removal permanently, which is just shocking. It's really, you know, when we've seen things about smoothing before around the ambulance times and manipulation of data, really I think we're heading towards Mid-Staffordshire territory, which you may be aware of, in which there was an inquiry into, and how their use of manipulation of data and more care about data than anything else at the cost of patients' lives was wrong, and people died under that, and people are dying here, as we've seen. Lives have been lost. I will say, Chair, I think, as I mentioned earlier, they need to be quizzed on this. The Trust do tend to, in meetings we've had with them, filibuster to a degree. They talk a lot without really answering questions quite often. I think if we have a meeting, perhaps, I know our standing orders might be kind of restrictive. I think there needs to be an ability to be back and forth and come back in and interrupt the Trust, because they will go on and they don't answer questions. I think we need to have that, whether that's through potentially a more informal meeting that's live streamed to allow us that flexibility and allow yourself that flexibility, Chair, or through on the night suspension of certain standing orders to allow you to address that flexibility within your judgment, obviously, Chair. You're not going to let someone go for half an hour like at them. So I would say that I don't think, from reading the SOAS letter, I don't think they're that keen.
Point, Adam.
So I would like to ask the Chief Executive on her advice regarding that, a meeting with the Trust to allow us to kind of quiz them following that Health Committee meeting. What would she see as the best approach to allow that kind of back and forth?
Thanks, Adam. And I'm going to look around the chamber and online to see if there are other councillors who wish to contribute before Alison comes in. Okay, if there aren't, then I'll ask Alison to speak now.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I think just in terms of the arrangements, obviously we could invite the Trust, as Councillor Gannon had referenced in his comments. There would be a certain amount of latitude available at your discretion, Chair. The most appropriate mechanism, though, I think, for that free flow could well be an informal meeting, albeit one that the council would choose to stream, so that the arrangements and obviously would be available and accessible. In the event that members chose to proceed, for example, with a special council meeting, there would be certain parameters that we would have to adhere to. So I would have thought maybe if there was a desire that we would seek an urgent meeting, that it would be by status for us informal, but one which the council would choose to stream on its own platforms.
Would it be in person?
Well, Chair, traditionally, I suppose we have, and the Trust, even at subcommittee, are keen to attend in person, but that would certainly be something, if members were so minded, we would always make hybrid attendance available for access arrangements, but we would certainly maybe encourage in-person attendance.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Gannon?
Just to propose accordingly, obviously, if there's other opinions in the chamber, be interested to hear. But
Is there any seconder for that proposal? Okay, I'll look around the room. Councillor Coyle has seconded. And that's agreed, members, that course of action? Okay, thank you. Okay, so that was 4.4, wasn't it? Okay, so we're still at page 4 in the matters arising here. And then we move on to page 5. And then 6 and 7. Utility regulator, isn't there something coming up there? Isn't there an informal?
Yes, Chair. So that's coming up. That's actually tomorrow evening at 4 p.m. again by Teams.
Okay, and I'm grateful, I think, to Councillor Hawkes for her willingness to chair that meeting. Isn't that right, Shirley? Thanks, Shirley. Thumbs up. No problem. And so then, page 7. Page 8. Oh, we'll go to Councillor Deehan here. Councillor Deehan.
Thank you, Chair. I just really wanted to make a comment on page 7, item 13.2 about the slow rollout of the multidisciplinary teams. The Western Federation Support Unit, which comprises the Southwest GP Federation and the Derry Federation, met with Minister Nisbet last week, and it was, I thought, quite a positive meeting. We had an hour with the minister. He appeared to be in listening mode, and he took copious notes. And he really wanted to discuss the new neighbourhood model of healthcare delivery. But we did have the opportunity of highlighting the very significant disadvantage that our district council is at in terms of the rollout of multidisciplinary teams and the knock-on effect that had on healthcare delivery and challenges to providing good GP services. The minister at that stage did acknowledge the particular challenges of healthcare delivery in rural areas, and I did refer him to the ICLRD report commissioned by this council. And he stated that he accepted that healthcare delivery had to be done differently in rural areas. And he really seemed to take that on board. He didn't allude at all to the removal of emergency general surgery from the SWA. So I don't know if he was aware of that or not, but he did seem to be pretty receptive to the notion that healthcare delivery in rural areas need to be tailored to meet the needs of rural communities. But however, he did not offer too much hope in terms of accelerating the rollout of the multidisciplinary teams in terms of financial constraints. But I mean, I am aware, Chair, that there are monitoring rounds coming up now, and I would hope and expect that the Minister would bid for additional funding. So it's just really by way of information and just to just inform members about the meeting that we had with Minister Nisbet. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to come to Councillor Devine Gallagher very shortly. We also had a recent meeting with the SPPG and the Southwest Federation of GPs about the rollout of multidisciplinary teams as well. Roger Kennedy was there from the SPPG and other representatives from the department and from the GP Federation. And one of the things we were told at that meeting was that it's expected that in our council area, that between now and 2030, there will be 55 additional health employees in the primary sector, in the primary care sector. That's one of the standout things that I remember. And I think initially they talked about maybe a cohort of 8 in the shorter term. And I think they might be, Councillor Roof's acknowledging that because you remember the same detail. There might be 4 mental health professionals and 4 physio professionals. I remember raising that then a couple of days later at the AIPB, another health related body. And it was interesting, somebody said from a community background, well, I hope that matches the needs of our community. You know, they shouldn't be just plucking figures out of the air with 4 and 4. Are they exactly what we need at this time? So I think community consultation on health, and it needs to reach a new level, you know, as well. But I'll go to Councillor Devine Gallagher now. Okay, Roisin?
Thank you, Chair. I'm hoping I'm okay to come in at this stage. Chair, I'd like to raise a concern that has been brought to my attention regarding the recruitment practices in the SWA in the SWA hospital. They've encountered situations where international recruitment personnel are arriving with qualifications that look suitable on paper, but later it becomes clear that their practical skills levels doesn't fully meet the required standards, and in some cases this has led to the staff being banded after they start work. As the Western MDT team begins operating in our practices and in our communities and including in our villages, I think it's important to understand whether the same recruitment processes will be used for the MDT staffing and what safeguards are in place to ensure that the candidates' practical competencies are properly validated before deployment. My intention isn't to criticise individuals, but simply to ensure that as we expand services into the community settings, we maintain consistent standards and avoid repeating difficulties that the hospital have already experienced. And I would just ask that if we could even write to the trust and ask that, what are they going to be putting in place to make sure that this doesn't happen? I think to the communities. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Devine Gallagher. Going now to Councillor Coyle.
Thanks, Chair. I don't have anything to say about the hospital. It was more to do with the cross-border element. I have to say all the international staff that I work with are very well capable of their work. But I've come across a situation where there's care in the community, and it kind of ties in with this, where the person needed the care is in Fermanagh, and the person giving the care is in Cavan or Leitrim, I can't remember now. But it's caused an issue because of the carer's allowance and because of the habitual residence clause. And I think that's on both sides, on both sides of the border. And I'd like to propose that we write to the Department of Social Protection and the Department of Communities to undertake an urgent and immediate review around the habitual residence clause for carers allowance, because this clause impacts many in border counties where family and immediate family members are caring for loved ones and may only be living not even 5 minutes away, albeit in another county, and it is having a detrimental effect on those families, and especially the people that actually need the care. So if I can propose that, and I don't know how they're going to work that out, whether they reimburse each other or whatever, but it's a serious issue for. It also impacts if somebody needs a care package to be able to leave the hospital as well. So it is an issue that feeds into our health service as well. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I'll go now to Councillor Roof.
Thanks, Chair. I'm happy to second that of Councillor Coyle's proposal. What was mentioned by Councillor Devine Gallagher, I think the caveat on that front would be that there's very little international recruitment when it comes to some of these allied healthcare professionals, so your physios, your social workers, and the like. And a lot of that is because we actually are inundated with staff, not necessarily well-paid roles in the trusts, and so these roles would be probably quite sought after. So I'm not overly sure the validity of that particular argument. So just to make that note, really for a bit of context on that front.
Okay. I'm looking around the room and online, and Councillor Deehan, I'm going to come back to you. Councillor Deehan, I know you have something to bring to the table here. Councillor Deehan.
Thank you, Chair. Just in response to Councillor Devine Gallagher's comments, and I mean, I certainly would be very concerned to think that any of the international graduates who are recruited into hospital practices, their practical skills would fall short. That surprises me, but it concerns me as well, because we all know that the Trust does launch international recruitment initiatives very regularly, and they rely on international graduates to staff the hospital in particular. But in relation to the Federation, and thank you, Chair, for your comments in relation to the MDT teams, no, it's just to reassure Councillor Devine Gallagher that, the physiotherapists that would be employed in the Federation are very senior practitioners, because they're what's called first contact physiotherapists. So they have the ability to diagnose and manage independently of the GP. So they're very senior practitioners. They are employed by the Western Trust, who is responsible for their recruitment. The mental health practitioners are employed by the Federation, and they also would be very senior practitioners, and the interview procedures would be very rigorous in ensuring that their skills would be suitable to match that very senior role. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Deehan. And Councillor Devine Gallagher, I'll anticipate that you'll be content with the issue you've raised and the way you've got reassurance. So if you want to say something, Roisin, please.
That's grand, Chair. Thank you. No, thank you, Councillor Deehan. For that. The reason why I raised it was because it was raised with me from a member of staff at the SWA. That was their comment, that was their experience, that they have in fact worked alongside where staff had to be debanded based on their weren't fit for the job in which they were intended and on qualifications on paper. So I'm just relaying what the staff has said to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. And then in relation to the proposal, it had a seconder. Councillor Coyle was proposal seconded by Councillor Roof. So I think we're agreed on that course of action. And thank you all for your contribution to that discussion. We're about to move on then. We're at page 8, I think. And then 9. Okay.
Chair, just at the bottom of page 9, and a couple of members have referenced already. So just to confirm, the research report from ICLRD has now been completed, and the webinar to launch those findings will be this Thursday from 9:30 a.m. via WebEx. We have posted the link as well on our website. It will also be recorded, Chair, for people who aren't able to join live. And we're just working with the team now in relation to dates for hopefully January for the in-person dissemination of the findings. The Council has already undertaken or taken a number of decisions around, for example, promoting the work. I know, Chair, it was something you mentioned to the Chair of the Health Committee, for example, when he was down. So we will get those actioned in due course.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Thanks, Chair. Just to come in on the report done by the ICLRD is a fantastic report, and it shows a real depth of knowledge and an understanding of the issues which rural areas face when it comes to health. And I think it's potentially going to be a game changer for what needs to be done here. And rightly so, we need to make sure that it is promoted and people read it and that people understand it. And it really can become a toolkit for us when we go and we demand the better services for local people here. And evidence-backed, that's very important. It has the evidence in it. It has recommendations. So I was going to ask about who we're promoting it to. Have we sent it to, for example, the Health Minister in the North and the South, the Chief Executive of the Trust? And I think once they've seen that, we should demand that they meet with us on that report. There's a great hunger for this in the community. We had a meeting last week in the Westfield Hotel around this issue, rural healthcare in a New Ireland and developing cross-border links. and people kept saying the same things. Cross-border healthcare makes sense, but why do we not have it? Everyone agrees it makes sense, but there's a lack of political will among some of the people who are in power. So we need to hold them to account and ask them to consider this very, very fully and to start the process of implementing it. So I'll leave that with you just to sort of, if you want to comment on that, then thank you.
You'll see at the bottom of page 9, even previously, Dermot, that we have adopted that proposal to write formally upon publication to Mike Nesbitt and to Jennifer Carroll McNeil. You've added other elements like the trust, but Alison, respond about the distribution strategy of that for that document. Over to you. I know if you can.
Certainly, Chair. So there are a number, as you've highlighted, Chair, the Council had previously agreed on particularly the cross-border element and to seek cross-border opportunity. We have, I think, an understanding that the Health Committee will facilitate a presentation by the Council on the findings of the report. So we will submit to them. And then obviously the Trust did participate in the workshop. So we'll be sending a copy to them also. There are then, Chair, within the report, a number of specific recommendations, one of which does include the establishment of a task force with ministerial authority. So that does require communication and dissemination to wider health stakeholders. So the intention following this evening and just reporting formally through is that we progress with that dissemination to those statutory agencies. With regard to the wider community uptake communication, it had been referenced at the Manor House Hotel workshop, the need for what was described as a symposium. So our intention, Chair, would be that this council would tie in with the Irish hosting, or as President of the European Union, that we would aim to get a rural healthcare symposium with international speakers towards the second half of 2026. ICLRD have also indicated their willingness to, I suppose, identify a couple of discrete strands of work which have been highlighted within the report. One of which really is around the modelling of rural health economics, which I think is something we would wish to do further. We have done quite a lot of work on specifically mapping and infrastructure. That could possibly be refined further. But I suppose the whole ethos of the original motion was the wider health ecosystem and how all of these areas are linked. So I think that also would be, particularly with primary care, a specific tool of engagement that we'd want to proceed with. It'd be my intention, Chair, that whether we get it done, I don't know for policy and resources next week, but that we would bring now a sort of a fairly defined action plan based on these findings and what we would do, but we will certainly be able to get those initial important communications out quickly.
Okay, thank you. Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Chair. And notwithstanding that conversation and the medium longer term direction that we may try to pursue the provision of health services in our area, I come back to the here and now and the request, Chair, that you will note there that we wrote again our original correspondence of the 15th of September. And I won't tire, Chair, of asking the question, have we received a reply? I think it's very, very important that we pursue this till we do get a reply to ensure that the new building that is going to be there in the months ahead will have the proper staffing levels. I think that's incumbent upon us as local representatives to ensure that we pursue that and get an answer so that we're not in a position that we are continuously seeking the recruitment of the properly qualified staff to provide the level of healthcare that will feed into that new vision to be able to deliver healthcare closer to the local person as opposed to continuously driving them towards the A&E department in our hospitals.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay.
So, Chair, just to confirm, no, we haven't received a response, but can certainly follow up again after this evening's meeting, Chair.
Thank you.
Okay. And I'll go now to Councillor Green, and I do want to say appreciation to Councillor Green for the original motion and the outworking of which is that ACLRD report. It was a holistic look at the health needs of this area, and it's a well thought out motion, very detailed, and it has led to the commissioning of that report and the publication of that report. So over to you, Councillor Green.
Thank you for that. I suppose when I originally put in my humble motion, I never thought it would end up producing a report of such quality as this. And I suppose I want to commend the council. I remember months after the motion went in, thinking to myself, is anything ever going to come from this? And I was talking to the chief executive, who kept assuring me that they were doing all they could to get the best people on board. And I have to commend Alison too for being true to our words and getting these people to do this report. And lastly, I'd like to commend the authors of this report. I think it's a fantastic document and will hopefully be a blueprint for rural services in the future that we can look at and reuse. So just to commend everyone on that.
Thank you. And then just a reminder, members of the webinar on Thursday morning, it's important if you can participate in that, if you can weigh in. And you said, Alison, also in January there'd be an in-person council dissemination of the document, and discussion around its contents. Okay? So we're about to move on. I think that was page 10. I was at page 10 now. If anybody wishes to come in on page 10, what an invite. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Chair. This is in relation to 13.9.
Yep.
I would just like to reiterate again the importance of Kiva's law. And that aftermath of fatal road collisions, and while emergency responders are trying to save lives, others are taking photos and filming the devastation. Families finding out via social media that their loved one has gone. Footage circulating Snapchat, WhatsApp, Facebook, and other channels, causing secondary trauma for families. Therefore, if it's possible, I would like to propose that we write to the Justice Minister and ask her to take action and prioritise legislation to protect victims of road fatalities and also their families.
Okay.
Thanks, Chair.
And thank you, Councillor Kelly, for your strong interest in that. If I could get a seconder for your proposal. Councillor Little has seconded. Thank you. So just anticipate that that's adopted, members. I'll be meeting later this week with victims of some of these road accidents and the issues that arise. But thank you to Councillor Kelly for her strong interest in that as well. Okay, so page 11, page 12, okay, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16 and 17, 18 and 19, 20 and 21.
Sorry, Chair, just on page 20, item 16.2, just to refer members to, again, your other correspondence folder. So we have a response from the Department of Justice, and this is in relation to the flying of contentious flags. So the Minister has set out, I suppose, the Department's responsibilities, but makes specific reference to the previously commissioned work, which was known as FICT, flags, images, I think, identity, cultural traditions, and the provisions that have been set out within that policy, which would have allowed for a more considered approach and impact on communities in relation to the flying of such flags. So just really for noting, Chair.
Okay, can I propose to note, is there a proposer to note that correspondence? Thank you, Councillor Gannon. We'll see if there's a seconder to note. Okay, I'll look around the room. Councillor Feely, John, thank you. So that's noted, members. Just 2 points I would make on that would be the council itself has some remit in cleaner neighbourhoods, and DFA have a particular piece of legislation that allows them to do something about contentious flags, but they never ever invoke it, it seems. So I'll leave it at that for now because we've rehearsed that before. Okay. Now, We'll move on. Page 21, did you say? Okay. Page 21. Page 22. Okay. So that's agreed, members. We can conclude on that item of the agenda. And now we go to matters arising to do with the special council meeting. And that's item 6 on your agenda. And so I'll take you through the pages individually. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, and page 7. Over to you, Alison.
No, thanks, Chair. It's just to note the correspondence that was dated on the 21st November from the Housing Executive, and this is specifically around affordable housing advice note, which was referenced by the Chief Executive in the course of the presentation at the special council meeting.
Okay, thank you. Just take a proposer and seconder for that, if so inclined. Okay, Councillor Thompson and Councillor Donnelly. Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly and Councillor Thompson, proposed by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Anne-Marie. Thank you. And that's agreed, members? Okay. Okay. Next then, members, we're going to go till paper C, which is to consider a report on call-in of a decision made at the council meeting on the 4th of November regarding the motion which looked at funding for voluntary and community groups. That was the title of that item. So it would be appropriate to hand over to you, Alison, to set the context for this item.
Thank you, Chair. So I just draw members' attention to the paper, which really sets out the key details. So as you said, Chair, at the council meeting last month, the decision was taken in relation to the adoption of a motion. The following day, I received a request to call in the decision. So it was a 41(1)A call in, and a copy of that is appended to the papers for you. The rest of the report really sets out, Chair, the arrangements. So they're detailed at paragraph 1.4. So the members who submitted the call-in or a member on their behalf shall be invited to address this evening's meeting and shall have voting rights. The decisions available to the council this evening are that you could refer this to a relevant committee, which in this case would be Policy and Resources, where the subject matter could be considered. You can either support the original decision or overturn the original decision. And the only, I suppose, 2 additional items I would highlight, Chair, is that paragraph 2.3, given the time which has elapsed, and there's roughly a 4-week lead-in around amendments to the off-street car parking arrangements, so that action within the motion, if re-adopted, could not be progressed. And there was also some discussion at last month's meeting regarding financial implications. So I have clarified within that paragraph of the report the arrangements which apply to consideration of financial matters. So really the recommendation I chair is that the council considers the call-in under section 41(1)A in accordance with the procedures detailed in the report.
Okay, I go now.
Councillor Mahan.
I would like to do that. I'll go to Councillor Mahan in the first instance.
Thank you, Chair. We have decided to call in this motion this evening under section 41 standing orders, as we believe the decision was not arrived at after a proper consideration of the relevant facts. We take, for example, the cost of reduction of the car parking on the Saturday to December, although we now understand that it is not possible even now to do it at this late stage. But firstly, we don't believe that this would be of any benefit to the people or the businesses at such a small amount. Secondly, if it was to go ahead, how much would it cost? We don't know. And if we'd done it this year, we would be assumed that we'll have to do it next year and the year after and the year after. Where is this money going to come from? We don't know the cost. I think it would have knock-on effects in later years in the rate setting process. Whilst there are some really good and useful items included in the motion, breakfast clubs and schools, for example, there are other items we feel are not so good. This 350,000 balance was collected from ratepayers for a specific reason. 50% roughly from businesses and 50% from households. We all know and understand how much businesses are struggling at the moment and how they're having to do things differently, even here in the town centre, to try and make ends meet. We know especially how the cost of living crisis is affecting families. and especially at this time of year. No consensus seems to be around the chamber how this money should be spent. Everybody has different views on it, which they're fully entitled to, of course. Our view is that the money should simply be given back. This would be the fairest and most sensible thing to do. So I would propose that this motion be referred back to a relevant committee for further discussion, with a strong view that this money should be given back to the people and included in a line separately, possibly in the rate setting process at the end. That is our strong view. There's no consensus, but I would maybe ask that it be referred back to the relevant committee. Thank you.
Yeah, I need Alison to come in on this point now. Thank you.
Well, Councillor Mahon might have clarified just in his final comments. I suppose, Chair, it's just to note, certainly if the proposal is that we refer the matter to the relevant committee, that's fine. But there is no mechanism for the council to give money back to people. So just procedurally, that wouldn't be something that could be reflected within the proposal.
Okay. I'll come back to you, David.
Thanks, Chair. I fully understand we can't send money back, but it would just be, rather than just transferring to reserves,
Okay.
it'd be there as a fund for next year.
The proposal is to bring this back to a particular committee. Now, my understanding is that I don't open this up for fuller or wider discussion, that if we have a proposal, which is seconded, is that right? If I get a seconder for that, I'll be putting your proposal to the meeting. I think that's the way it shall be conducted. Okay. So I do indeed have that now. I have it in the person of Councillor Paul Robinson, has seconded Councillor Mahon's proposal, so that the matter be referred back to a committee. Now, Debbie, it's my understanding we don't open this up for wider debate. If you could switch off your mic, please. Okay, thank you. That we vote on the proposal and you're either for or against or you abstain in the matter. Isn't that fair to say? Is it a point of order? Okay. Sorry. Just what we're voting for.
Our vote is whether we defer it back to another committee. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay. So, can I take that vote? I'll put it to the chamber and online. I'll look online as well. Is everyone in favour of Councillor Mahon's proposal to refer it back to a committee? Okay. Okay, so it's going to go to the vote. That means that we're going to set up an online vote as well. A vote in the chamber and an online vote.
Already proceeded.
Apparently, the rule is that I've already proceeded and that there wouldn't be any further requests of that nature. Okay, so the online vote is ready to rock too, isn't it? Okay, and in the chamber. I can't do this. What's the voluntary? Sorry. Did you feed the dog?
The numbers. Seventeen. Okay. And then here, oh, I have my sense. It's not 3 and 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've 17 for, 19 against. So the isn't that 3 and 2?
It is, aye.
Yeah, yeah.
It is.
So we've 17 for, 19 against. So the proposal. So now you're open to another proposal.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So 17.
Yeah. 17.
Yeah.
For.
Aye.
19 against.
Yeah.
So the proposal.
That's right.
So we've now taken over.
So members, the outcome of that vote is that there are 17 for and 19 against. So that proposal falls. And again, I'm open now to another proposal.
has to be within the original. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to maybe explain the procedures there, Alison?
No, it's okay. It's just, Chair, yes, you're certainly open to take another proposal, but it still has to be just one of the three. It's either now to support the decision or overturn the decision. So it's the same. There are only three courses of action available, detailed in paragraph 1.4.
Okay, I'll go now to Councillor Coyle.
Thanks, Chair. Well, I'd like to propose that we keep with the original decision because the cost of living affects everybody, and to be able to deliver the fuel support, the food support, even making signs is keeping business, is giving people business,
Okay.
is keeping people fed, is giving breakfast to children in school, and the car parking thing we can't have now anyway. The rest of it is going to benefit people who are on very low incomes. It will benefit children at school, and it will benefit businesses and local businesses. So I'm proposing that we keep to the original decision, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Feely. Now, apparently, this is a proposal and a seconder, and I believe that's the structure of what we're doing. Councillor Feely.
For all the reasons just mentioned, I'll be seconding that.
Okay, thank you. I know other members would like to open it up, but apparently the way to handle this is to take the proposal and seconder and then put it to a vote if that's required. What if I anticipated that everybody would agree with that? Is that the case? No, right, okay. And so we're going to put it to a vote again, this time a proposal by Councillor Coyle and seconded by Councillor Feely to support the original decision. I can get rid of this.
It's 3-1 again. It's not just it's just my own. Sure. 3-1.
Yeah. And it's 10-1.
So we have 24, 12 against and 4 abstentions. So it's carried.
Yes.
20, 12 against 4. 20 against 3 abstentions.
I always go for the
Okay.
Chair.
We'll just move on now.
Okay, I have to call the vote now. Okay, the result of that vote is as follows. For 20, against 12, and 4 abstentions. So that proposal is carried. Okay, that concludes the matter. Okay. Councillor McLaughlin, go to you now, please.
Yeah, sorry, Chair, I'm in on a mobile and I wasn't given an option to vote. I was against, or else I don't want it registered as an abstention.
Okay. Okay, so I've called the vote, but certainly you've been heard in the matter. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on now, members, till item 8. So from 8 right through till 17 inclusive, we're dealing with various committees and again confirming each of the committee minutes and then dealing with the matters arising in each. So first one we deal with is planning, and that committee met on Wednesday the 22nd of October, and then there was a reconvened meeting as well. Okay, so page 1 for accuracy, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, 8 and 9, 10 and 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 and 21 and 22. So I'll look to Councillor Campbell if he's inclined to propose.
Happy to propose, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. And have I got a seconder then? Councillor Rennie, thanks very much. Proposed and seconded and agreed. So then we'll go to item 9 on the agenda, which is matters arising from the Planning Committee. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8 and 9, 10 and 11, 12 and 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 and 21 and 22. Okay, so there aren't any. Move on from that. That concludes that. We move now to the reconvened planning meeting, and that was chaired by Councillor Tommy Maguire, Cordior Thomas McGear, and it met on Friday the 24th of October. So again, for accuracy and to confirm the minutes, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, 7, 8 and 9. Okay, have I a proposer, Cordior McGear? I'll go to you now.
Guramaga Caherly, Molam the Mintersky, Guramaga Caherly.
Right,
I propose the minutes, Chair.
Mahu, and then on Will Kidgehorogin. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Okay, and agreed, members? Okay, so then we'll go through it for matters arising. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, concluded. Move on now till item 12 on your agenda, which would be paper F. And this meeting would have been chaired by Councillor Hayes. And so for accuracy in matters arising, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, 6, 7, okay, and 8. Okay, Councillor Hayes, would you be inclined to propose? Thank you. And have I got a seconder? Councillor Crawford in first. Thanks very much. So, matters arising, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, Lahanakakuig, page 5, page 6, page 7, and page 8. So that's that, members. We've dealt with that. And we're now at item 14 on the agenda, and that would be a committee that is chaired by Councillor Thompson, Regeneration and Community. And I think it runs to 8 pages here. So for accuracy and confirmation of minutes, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, and page 8. And I'll go to Councillor Thompson then.
Thank you, Chair. Propose the adoption of the Regeneration and Community Committee minutes.
Thank you very much. Have we a seconder for that? Okay, okay, Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly, seconded and agreed, members. So then, matters arising, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, and page 8. Okay, so that's agreed, members. And finally then, in this round, we'll have the minutes of the P&R committee. That was held on the 12th of November. It's paper H in your pack. chaired by Councillor Thomas O'Reilly. So for accuracy, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, and page 9. So that's for accuracy. I'll go to Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Chair. Propose the minutes of the Policy and Resources Committee.
Thank you, Gordon Melgett. And have a seconder. I have Councillor Roof indicated first. Thank you. And now we'll go to matters arising. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6.
Thank you, Chair. Just page 6. So at the committee, it was the composition of the Irish Unity Working Group was agreed and is detailed, Chair, at item 5.1 of the recommendations. It was further agreed that we would take nominations this evening for the working group. So that's 5 members from Sinn Féin, 2 members each from the Ulster Unionist Party, Democratic Unionist Party, SDLP Alliance, and 2 independent members. So really, Chair, it's to clarify just the Sinn Féin, Ulster Unionist and Democratic Unionist representation, please.
Okay, I'll go now to Councillor Coyle, Cordior, Nagila Cole, Ardus.
Thanks, Chair. I'd like to nominate myself, Councillor Rory Little, Colette, Dermot.
Dermot Brown. Maybe just try to use surnames if you can.
Nolene.
Just try and use the councillor surnames if you can.
My phone, sorry.
All right. We know who they are, but we need the...
Councillor Hayes, Councillor Brown.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll end up using initials here.
I know, sorry, I had it
D
down
and stuff
and
like
I
that, you know.
misplaced it there.
Thank you very much for the 5.
Cheers.
Okay. So Ulster Unionist Party would be next to state their case. Councillor Warrington.
Thank you, Chair. We will not be nominating to this committee because there's obviously no relevance to the day-to-day business of this council. The reality is simple. This council has zero authority over whether a border poll is called or whether it's not. And we will not have any influence in its timing. Our focus should remain on delivering real practical service for ratepayers, not engaging in political grandstanding. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Warrington. And I'll go now to Councillor Robinson on my list here. I'd like to think that's it. Yep.
We'll never nominate neither. It's only a waste of money, as far as we can see.
Okay, thank you, Councillor.
The record, Chair, we were SDLP
Aye.
Alliance and independent.
Yeah, I'll just go to Adam for confirmation then of the SDLP position.
Yeah, just to nominate myself and Councillor McGrath. Thank you.
Okay. I'll go now till the Alliance Party.
Councillor Donnelly's online.
Councillor Donnelly, online. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Chair. And I mean, likewise, our position from the time of the motion hasn't changed. We still have a great deal of scepticism regarding the suitability and value for money of this group, particularly with the risk of duplication, and also against the backdrop where I think many residents think that this isn't a wise way of prioritising our time. So whilst Alliance will always be open to engaging with the ongoing conversation about the future of this island, we don't think that this is a worthwhile exercise of our time and will not be nominating a member.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Okay, I'll go now to Councillor Deehan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'd be happy to accept the nomination to this group, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Deehan. And then obviously we'll be following up with Councillor McPhillips. Isn't that right? Okay.
Thank you, Chair. And just also on this page to draw members' attention to the correspondence received from the Infrastructure Minister, Liz Kimmins. This had followed a meeting with representatives of the Rural Affairs Subcommittee here in the Town Hall, and the Minister had undertaken to come back on certain matters really relating to the roads maintenance and associated budgets, and that's the detail before you, Chair. So just a proposer and seconder to note, please. I know it's something will be revisited.
Councillor McGrath has proposed to note, and if I had a seconder, it would be great. Okay, thank you, Councillor McNulty. Okay. Councillor Gannon, did you wish to comment on this?
Would this be, given the content, would it be an appropriate time for the piece of AOB, Chair? Obviously up to yourself.
I'd be inclined to do, I'll do that, surely, yes, go for it.
Thank you,
Spot it.
Chair. So obviously on the Derlin Road on Friday night, we unfortunately saw a loss of life in a collision there. And obviously, I'm sure, like everyone in this chamber, thoughts are with the family and friends impacted by this. And just when I'm speaking, I'd like to pay tribute to the emergency services involved in responding to this. We've raised this exact section of road previously, and I was at the scene on Saturday with Councillor McArdle and some others, and we witnessed a near miss coming out of one of the junctions then and there. You couldn't ride it, and then there was a couple of people stopped to share their own experiences and problems with the road, and some near misses that they also had or family had. So I would just propose that we write to the Minister again to highlight this stretch of road, which has been long awaited upgrade in light of recent events, to ask again that she looks at perhaps allocating funding to get this piece of road fixed up. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And before I come to Councillor Thompson on another related road matter, I'll go to Councillor McArdle, who I anticipate may wish to second this.
Gora Mayagot, Kieran. Yeah, I like to second the motion. We were there on Saturday doing a few interviews for TVs and stuff. Any loss of life is drastic. Like, I've been trying since I got elected on this council, trying to get that upgrade to a safe standard of road. I've emailed the office, the EFA office in Stormont. I've emailed the EFA in Oma, and I'll keep knocking on the doors. I can reassure everybody here in this council chamber and the constituents listening. I'll knock on every door constantly to make sure that is brought up to a safe standard, and hopefully we'll be listened to sometime. That's all, Chair.
Okay, thank you to both councillors. So I anticipate that'll secure the support of everyone in the chamber. Thank you. Councillor Thompson, you did indicate earlier to me that you wanted to raise road issue.
Thank you very much, Chair. And we all know, and we've had our DE meetings and everything else, and we all know there's a lot of issues out there with regards to DFA and what they're responsible for. However, I have raised this issue on many occasions in interagency meetings and what have you, and it has never been resolved to my satisfaction or the constituent satisfaction either. And that is the Hospital Road in Oma. I'll talk about that first. And it's from the Swinging Bars roundabout to Woodvale Avenue, the junction of Woodvale Avenue. I took the opportunity of speaking to the developer 2 weeks ago at an event in the Arts Centre, which was run by the council. And he assures me that it'll be 3 years until that development at Colmone Avenue in the Hospital Road is completed. My understanding is that there'll be no major work carried out by DFA on that road. I think this road is getting to be in a dire state, the hospital, and I can put it no more strongly than that, a dire state, the Hospital Road. There's a lot of work has been patching done on it, but it's in a terrible state, right from that from the roundabout into the junction with Woodvale Avenue. So I'm formally proposing that we write to the Minister, Minister Cummins, with regard to this issue, and also the DFI Western Manager, Daniel Healy, and he's been made aware of the situation to reinforce the point. And I know, Chair, that yourself and me were in another discussion on this matter.
So I'm happy to second your proposal.
You're happy to second that
and I'm
one?
asking you to incorporate in the proposal the Kevlin Road. As two roads of priority importance till Oma at this time. The state of the Kevlin Road, similarly, Errol, as you know, we've agreed before the meeting that these two should receive priority status. Good news recently flagged up by Councillors Kelly and Little regarding situation in Killyclogher and Turquin Road. You know, great to see that. But myself and Errol are definitely combining on support for the Hospital Road and Kevlin Road.
Yep, if I can come back there, Chair. Yep, thanks for that. And I have no problem bringing
incorporating that.
Kevlin Road up to it as well.
Yep.
Kevlin Road and the Hospital Road.
Yep.
Can I just say, with regard to the Hospital Road is a main thoroughfare in and out of Oma. There are thousands of vehicles on that road in the day, especially using Oma Hospital and Primary Care Complex, and another 1,000 houses for buy on that particular piece of road. And with regard to Kelvin Road, I lived at Festival Park for many years, which is just off Kelvin Road.
Yeah.
And I know the state it's in, and I did raise it at our DEA meetings as well on Friday, as you know, Chair.
Yeah.
Happy to incorporate that as well.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Chair.
An anticipated agreement for those proposals. Okay, thank you. So, where will I start? Page 7. Hey, after a thing like that, you have to turn around to Alison and say, where are we now? Okay, so we're at page 7. And I'll keep looking at the online and the chamber. Page 8 and page 9. Okay, so that's that matter dealt with. And we've kind of dealt with, dealt with 17 as well. Okay. We're moving into the correspondence section of the meeting. There's also motions or a motion to be dealt with. And then there's confidential. I know that you're keen that a couple of issues in confidential be dealt with, but you're confident that we'll reach them, Alison? Okay. Okay. Thank you. So we're at the correspondence section. So 18.1, we're looking for another elected representatives hotline number. Okay.
So, yeah, thanks, Chair. So, a response from the Minister for Communities. This was specifically regarding concerns about universal credit. So, the Minister has set out the arrangements that are in place for various queries and has confirmed it is not his intention to establish a dedicated line for councillors.
Okay. Okay, I'll just take a proposer to note the correspondence if I could. Okay. Councillor John Feely and seconded by Councillor McColgan. Thank you, and thanks, Paul, for your willingness. Okay, so proposed and seconded and agreed to note. Next one.
Two items, sorry, Chair, from DFI. Firstly is in relation to the Colebrook River and flooded roads in Bow and Balik. So this really relates to the designation of the Colebrook River. And the letter references the Minister's meeting, which she also undertook with residents when she was here. And they've set out the various steps, including further engagement with the Drainage Council in the hope that that section would be redesignated, Chair. And the second letter is in relation to various roads matters that had been discussed previously at the council meeting. And the Divisional Roads Manager has come back on each of those.
Okay, thank you. Again, open for comment or noting. I'll take a noting quicker. Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Warrington. Although Councillor Feely, are you happy? Do you wish to comment? Okay, Councillor Feely.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Alison. Yeah, I was going to propose that. I was just reading through it here about the Tura Road. This road was flooded there a couple of times this year, and the river's not designated, so that's disappointing. But just because it's not designated doesn't mean it's not going to still flood and flood the roads. So is there any way we can look into how to get some of these rivers designated, or what would be the best way to go down that way if it's going to still flood like?
Okay.
Sorry, Chair, it's I suppose it's typically through the Drainage Council really in the first instance, which is why the Colebrook River, which is something that has been we've sought to get designated in the past, and the Drainage Council hasn't acceded, so we'll maybe see how they get on this time, but that would be the normal route that we'd pursue, Chair.
Okay. I'll come to Councillor Gannon, and I'm glad that Councillor Irvine's indicating as well. Councillor Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, if you need a seconder to note at this stage, but I just want to kind of focus on that Bow point for a moment. We did have a meeting with DFI Rivers about in around soft engineering methods in the pilot. Through that meeting, it came to light that they're actually running the pilot for the Mayola River, which obviously isn't this council area, but similar sort of characteristics, obviously at a much bigger population, which was why it was chosen. Unfortunately, obviously, I think Bow should have been chosen, but that was a fight I lost. But I think it would be useful for the council to perhaps write to DFI Rivers to be asked to be included in the final report on that project. I think that because that could be really useful for Bow in future, just so we know when it's done, when the reports come in and the impact, so then we can perhaps, if it's successful, advocate for Bow. So I'll make that a proposal, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I might even get a seconder for that. Councillor Feely, Anthony, thank you. Okay, and that proposal is agreed, members, isn't that correct? I'll go to Robert Irvine now.
Thanks, Chair. I just have to declare an interest as a member of the Drainage Council. I didn't think this was going to be discussed, but there you go.
Okay, thank you. Councillor? Okay, and that course of action that was proposed has been agreed, members, isn't that right? Okay. Next.
Yep, thanks, Chair. Response from the Economy Minister. This is in relation to the Council's recently adopted motion about Invest NI and regional imbalance. So the Minister's really set out the various arrangements for the sub-regional economic plan, but also confirming recruitment to the board is obviously on merit principle.
Okay, if I could take a proposer to note, it'd be grateful. Okay, I'll go to Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to propose the noting of the letter, but welcome the acknowledgement that Fermanagh and Omagh Council has the highest per capita allocation from the fund based on need. So I welcome that finally that issue has been acknowledged for our area. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we've had a proposal to note, and Councillor Hayes, thank you, and Councillor Robinson Moores Wellington, thank you. So that's proposed and seconded and agreed. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. The next item of correspondence is really just for noting it's similar to what we had considered last month from Mid-Ulster, and again relates to Kiva's law. So as we have undertaken these actions, Chair, just for noting, please.
Okay, I'll take a proposer to note. Councillor Warrington and Councillor Gannon, thank you. Okay. And thanks for raising it earlier, Catherine. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We had 3 items of other correspondence. All have been dealt with in the course of the agenda, so that concludes the correspondence.
Okay, so we'll move now to item 19 then, Alison. And we're looking at the delegation of council powers to various committees, 19.1 and 19.2 there.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just the first, well, actually in all 3 cases, so 2 consultation responses to the Regeneration and Community Committee, again dictated by the deadline of the submission of responses, and likewise for the Policy and Resources Committee. So if members were content, Chair, we'd take 2 separate proposals, please.
Okay, so we'll look at 19.1 first. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair. I'm happy to propose the delegation of powers to Regeneration Community Committee for 19.1.
Okay, have a seconder for that. Okay, Councillor Mahan, thank you. Councillor Mahan beat Paul Robinson by about a millisecond. There's a kind of a race going on over there. Okay, so that is proposed by Councillor Thompson and seconded by Councillor Mahan. Okay, and agreed, members. We'll deal with 19.2 now. So again, it's policy and resources, and there you are. Alison, do you want to explain? No, you have it done? Yeah. Okay, 19.2. Okay, Councillor John Feely and seconded by Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly, that this be delegated to the committee, the P&R committee. Okay, and that's agreed, members. So we'll move now to item 20 on the agenda, a notice of motion. This is 20.1. It's proposed by Councillor Coyle and seconded by Councillor Hayes. So I'll offer Councillor Coyle the opportunity now to state our case.
5 minutes.
Okay.
Thanks, Chair.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure everybody's read the motion, but I just want to speak on a few of the points that's in it, because Nolene is going to follow me, and hopefully other people will see the benefit in this important motion and maybe speak on it as well. Just on the third paragraph there, because I do want to commend the work undertaken by the council and its working relationship with partners, both especially in the community and voluntary sector, to help alleviate financial pressure. And tonight's decision earlier to distribute over £250,000 to local charities that will benefit local families and children, create some work, and all that money will be spent locally and stay within our council area, regardless of whether it's paying a worker or doing some work out there. It will benefit our community. And it's good news regarding the 2-child limit on universal credit, that will definitely benefit so many children and so many families, especially families on who are on low pay. And I know Nolene's going to speak a bit more on that. But I would like to write to the Chancellor of the Exchequer for her to confirm that the government will make reductions on the other things mentioned in the motion, the VAT on domestic energy bills, and to introduce a windfall tax on energy companies. These continue to make extortionate profits, and while hundreds of families have to decide whether they can heat their homes, have something to eat, or pay other bills, often getting into hundreds or even thousands of pounds worth of debt, while these energy companies make billions of pounds profit. There needs to be, that needs to stop. The car and home insurance is just shocking. I was speaking to somebody today whose home insurance has gone up to £1,500 from approximately 600 just a couple of years ago. So there needs to be a reduction in the insurance indemnity tax. And whilst the minimum wage and living wages increased, the freezing of income tax threshold just means that more tax will be paid by people who are already at the lower pay brackets in work. And it's literally a case of giving with one hand and taking with the other. And the billions of pounds spent on weapons of war, in the last 10 years, £500 million of that has gone to Israel alone. That needs to stop. And this money, billions of pounds every year, needs to be invested in the public services. And I'll finish there, Chair, and pass on to Nolene. Thank you.
Go now to Councillor Hayes.
Thank you, Chair. And yeah, I'm seconding this motion, and I would also like to welcome the reversal in the two-child benefit cap. We actually brought a motion here to this council back in January proposing that. So that is one good piece of news to come out of the British budget, if not the only piece of good news to come out of it, possibly. But I do want to talk on the draft anti-poverty strategy. It says in the motion we should write to the Minister of Communities on it, as it's been unfortunately roundly criticised by organisations working on the anti-poverty. Some saying that it's weak and lacking some substance. The absence of targets and outcomes being significant and could really make this almost meaningless. It only briefly mentions rurality as a risk factor of falling into poverty. This council area is the most rural district across the 11 councils, and much more focus needs to be placed on rural poverty. Areas like our district here has lost many services, just post offices, schools, GP surgeries, and we have very poor and inadequate public transport links. So we mustn't be left behind in this strategy, and the provision of services must be significantly considered in rural areas. It doesn't give any commitments on how it will support local authorities like this council or the community and voluntary sector in alleviating poverty in our local communities. The one-size-fits-all approach doesn't consider how poverty affects people differently at different stages of life, nor does it recognise that gender and sexual orientation are also significant risk factors of falling into poverty. There are higher levels of poverty amongst women, especially single parents, and members of the LGBTQIA+ community are more likely to face discrimination and more likely to suffer from mental health conditions and experience family breakdowns. These are all high risk factors not being given any thought in the strategy, unfortunately. So we should urge the Minister to listen to the many voices expressing serious concerns and work with them to strengthen the strategy into one which does make a lasting and far-reaching impact. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Withers.
Yep, thank you, Chair. I just want to speak in support of the motion. We're living in a society and indeed a world where the gap in wealth inequalities continues to grow, and those with the power and capacity to do much, such as governments in London and Dublin, implement policies which contribute to that. One of the most stark statistics which reinforces that point is that 500 richest people in the world have a net worth of more than £8 trillion. So it's clear there's more than enough wealth in the economy for everyone, and the problem is that it's not fairly and equally distributed. We need actions from governments which have policies focused on ending those inequalities. A report by the Trussell Trust in Britain earlier this year shows that eliminating hunger and hardship would save their economy £75 billion on an annual basis. At a local level, we can go as far back as a decade ago when the executive brought in welfare mitigation.
I just could point out that Councillor Withers does deserve to be heard if it can have silence in the rest of the chamber while Councillor Withers speaks.
Thank you, Chair. At a local level, we can go back as far back as a decade ago when the executive brought in welfare mitigations, which cost £50 million a year. That's just one example of a local measure that the executive sought to alleviate the pressures as a result of Tory austerity. And while I welcome the decision by the Labour government to end the two-child benefit cap, which will indeed lift children out of poverty, the reality is they continue to prioritise spending money on things like militarisation rather than frontline public services. The motion also specifically refers to the local anti-poverty strategy. We need to see a more proactive approach by the local communities minister and the delivery of an anti-poverty strategy that has clear targets and measurable outcomes. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Withers. Going now to Councillor Gannon.
Thank you.
And then Councillor Deehan after that. Councillor Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I welcome the motion and will be supporting the motion. The majority of people, when polled, now believe that there'll be no end to the cost of living crisis. And it doesn't matter who you are, everyone is feeling it and being impacted by it. But really, the draft anti-poverty strategy is an embarrassment to the executive. It's a vague list of hopes rather than a plan of action. No clear time-bound targets, no performance indicators, no budget, and no assessment of the actual key drivers of poverty, to say the least, Chair. We've waited on this policy for 20 years, and we've got a beyond poor attempt to address poverty here. And child poverty alone costs the Northern Ireland economy approximately £1 billion a year. That is a huge sum. It's clear to me that this was produced simply to fend off the courts, who found that the executive had a legal duty to bring forward this strategy. And struggling families were counting on this and are counting on this strategy to make a difference in their lives. And if it doesn't deliver, and this strategy in its current form won't deliver, then the entire executive must take responsibility for that. But supporting the motion here tonight, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Deehan.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I would like to commend Councillor Coyle and Councillor Hayes for bringing forward this important motion. And I too would like to welcome the ending of the two-child cap on benefits. I think it was really a disgraceful action to take, and I'm very glad that this Labour government has reversed it now, and it will definitely bring many children out of poverty. But there is no doubt that the extent of poverty in our communities is something that's intolerable. And I do agree with the motion that the Minister of Communities needs to be more specific in terms of tangible actions that need to be taken to mitigate against increasing levels of poverty within our community. We know, Chair, that poverty is a major driver of health inequalities, and this is something that this council has long been concerned about. And I'm very proud that this council has been very proactive in seeking ways of addressing poverty within our district council area. In terms of the very high insurance premiums. Everyone needs to tax their car and their home, and people simply are finding it increasingly difficult to afford the premiums. So that's something that needs to be looked at and addressed. So all in all, I think that all of these points are very well made, and I'm happy to support the motion, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm going to go to Councillor Barton next, followed by Councillor Donnelly. And Stephen, if you could just turn on your camera, please. Thank you. Over to Councillor Barton.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, of course, we're all concerned about the ongoing cost of living crisis that's impacting on the households across the district. Unfortunately, there will be worse to come for the households, particularly in Fermanagh and Omagh, where many in the rural areas will have to deal with the inheritance tax rules for farms, which will be undergoing significant reform in April 2026. Motion rightly highlights the pressures that households face. While headline inflation may have eased slightly, somewhat, for many families the pressure has not. The essential items that many families rely on week in, week out have not returned to their previous prices. Food costs remain significantly higher, particularly with the reality of shrinkflation, where households get less for the same money. While changes like this may appear minor for a family, already stretched to the limit, the cumulative impact is substantial. Recently, there's been the proposed increase of school meals by around 20% by the EA. For many families under pressure, this too will be a significant blow to them. I know school meals have not risen since 2017, but at this particular time, an increase like this is further pressure. Food pressures are just part of the wider picture. We also have fuel poverty, rising costs of fuel, and the National Energy Action Northern Ireland has reported that nearly 50% of households are also worried about energy bills. It must be acknowledged the work the Minister has taken forward in relation to fuel poverty, while it has some good points in it and can be commended, there are still so many challenges. But there are still challenges such as setting of clear targets, measurable targets at that, to give anti-poverty and strategies. It has to give anti-poverty and fuel strategies some structure, direction and credibility. The volunteer and community sector in Fermanagh and Omagh deserve recognition. These groups are often the first to recognise the pressures families are under, and they support thousands per week. Unfortunately, this sector is reporting rising demand once again. If we want to support this sector, the pressures that these people are under must be addressed, including food and fuel insecurity. Unpaid carers must also be acknowledged. In Northern Ireland, 220,000 unpaid, they're unpaid providing support, and this saves the executive 5.8 billion. They have to be acknowledged. Given the seriousness of the increased financial pressures on families through this cost of food and fuel and living, an increase in taxes, decisions must be made to improve the circumstances of those, and therefore we will be supporting this motion.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
Thank you very much. Yeah. No, thank you very much, Chair, and can I thank the members who brought forward this motion. I think that's incredibly timely. I think that it goes without saying, and we've said this consistently over many years in this chamber, that for far too many years what we have seen is economic policy which has fundamentally been about balancing the books on the backs of the most vulnerable in this society. And one of the greatest disappointments, certainly for myself, and I think for many out there in the community, is the fact that with this Labour government, the first thing that they did upon entering office was actually to continue the failed economic orthodoxy that preceded their time in office. And this largely has been consolidated and even in some ways exacerbated by this most recent budget with respect to the decisions that have been taken around income tax, and also in terms of the devastating approach that farmers have felt in terms of inheritance tax. But I do welcome the abolition of the two-child cap, And whilst it should have been abolished immediately upon the Prime Minister entering Downing Street, it is nonetheless welcome that we have finally reached this point. And I want to say that I welcome this motion on account of its timeliness, in the sense that we have very recently received quite staggering statistics regarding the levels of child poverty within this district in particular. And I think it is important that we always shout very loudly about the fact that although sometimes our rurality may shadow the level of poverty that goes on in rural districts such as Fermanagh and Omagh, that need, that neglect, and that poverty is very much real and hurting our residents. And I think given that this is Homelessness Awareness Week as well, I think that it's important that we just keep that in mind. I think that now is a timely moment for us to review, and certainly to call for a review of what the Communities Minister has brought forward in terms of the anti-poverty strategy. It's already been mentioned in terms of the fact that we have that lack of specific targets, the lack of a detailed action plan, provisions for independent monitoring, measures that would have provided a much stronger foundation for progress. And I think that there is still time for us to be able to get this right, but we do need to see a rethink, particularly in light of the very difficult circumstances that our community is facing at the present moment, Chair. So on that basis, Alliance will be supporting this motion.
Sir Thompson.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair. There is a heavy burden on many hard-working people who are struggling to make ends meet. We know that almost 1 in 4 of our children now live in relative poverty, and around 9% of children live in low-income households that cannot afford basic goods and essential activities. There is a clear challenge ahead. The Democratic Unionist Party continues to stand on the side of families across Northern Ireland, many of whom are feeling the squeeze with soaring costs for basic goods such as food and utilities. Minister Lyons took a decision to announce that all existing welfare mitigations will be extended to March 2028. This should help to give stability to families. Since taking up the role of Minister for Communities, Gordon Lyons and his officials have been working with other departments to learn from the actions and the failings of previous leadership in this area, and have delivered a draft anti-poverty strategy, which sets out the commitment to a joined-up, long-term approach to addressing poverty by minimising risks, minimising impacts, and exiting poverty. When Sinn Féin brought this motion to the Assembly, Minister Lyons explained clearly that all parties in the Executive have collective responsibility for the strategy, saying, "We all signed up to its publication and it's going out to consultation. I asked all Executive parties whether they wanted further strategic actions to be included. No further actions were added to it, and ministers agreed that the strategy be published and go out for consultation. It is important that we recognise that it's not the strategy of one minister alone. The members who have tabled the motion must not understand how this process works. There was a draft strategy, this went out to consultation, and now the department will look at the responses to that consultation. The DUP have been clear that if the government is serious about tackling child poverty, a good way to start would be to remove the deeply unfair two-child benefit cap. At Westminster, the DUP made clear that the cap must go. Our MP stood on a manifesto clearly outlining this position, as well as supporting calls for a windfall tax on energy firms. Northern Ireland has strong engineering and digital sectors and is uniquely positioned to contribute to the defence's need for innovation. Defence is an integral part of the United Kingdom economy and wider society, supporting 440,000 high-quality jobs and driving social mobility through the training offered to our forces personnel and civil servants, with over 24,000 apprenticeships. To say that such investment should stop is absurd. We will not
You're
be.
at 3 minutes and 10 seconds here, so if
We
you
will
could
not
conclude.
be. We will not be opposing the motion, Chair. But there's some of the commentary that has been used here this evening is just not very welcoming. So
Okay.
leave it at that. Thank you,
Thank
Chair.
you. Thank you. And I'll be coming back to Debbie in a minute, to make her concluding remarks. Can I just say that earlier today, I had a conversation with our poverty officer, anti-poverty officer, Deirdre, and we just compared notes on the type of calls, that are coming our way, coming my way, coming your way as elected representatives, and coming to the council about poverty and abject poverty in many cases. People don't have money for oil. People don't have enough money for food. And I personally would like to see the Department for Communities re-establish the hardship fund. There's a great need for strategic decisions to root out poverty in the first instance, but dealing with the emergency situations, universal credit is having a serious impact on people, and people going weeks without universal credit in many decisions. And that's one of the reasons why I think we took a good decision, stepping into the void again and directing money from this council to food banks, to school breakfast clubs, hopefully to St Vincent de Paul and other organisations. So that's my comments on the matter. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Councillor Debbie Coyle, who has 3 minutes to sum up. Okay, Debbie, over to you. I'll bring Debbie on now. Okay, Debbie.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for everybody's contribution there. Just on the two-child credit was brought in 2017, and I suppose it's good to remember that DUP actually supported Theresa May with their supply and confidence motion when that was brought in. So it's good to hear that they're glad it's gone. Since putting this motion in, we have had the recent budget, and whilst there were some announcements that were welcome, the Chancellor and Government certainly missed an opportunity to help all those hard-working families on low incomes who will now have less disposable income to spend in our local businesses. And I want to agree, especially with some of the stuff that Rosemary was saying around the cost of food. And I recently went to buy some mints, and it was nearly £7 for a pound, and the cost of food is just shocking. And that's why our earlier decision was so important, to help people who are struggling with food, that they'll now be able to go to our local charities, as the Chair was just mentioning, because we will be distributing them to the St Vincent de Paul, the Samaritans, and food banks, etc. And so that decision that was made earlier was really important, because we really are genuinely, as a council, really going to be helping so many families and so many children. And yeah, and that's it. So I just want to thank everybody for supporting it. Thank you.
Okay. So, might be differences of emphasis, but I read in the room a broad consensus that we're going to support the adoption of this motion. Am I correct in that, members? I'll take silence even as consensus. Okay. So that motion is agreed. Okay, thank you very much. Now, just I'll check with members. I think it's Councillor Deehan and Councillor Coyle who wish to raise any urgent items of business. Others indicated as well, but I think they've been dealt with in other parts of the meeting, so grateful for your indulgence there. I'll go to you, Councillor Deehan, first for your matter.
Thank you, Chair, and many thanks for allowing me to raise this matter under AOB. And I'm raising it specifically in response to a plea from a constituent who has an adult son with suspected ADHD. Chair, you may be aware that at present there is no adult diagnostic service for patients who are suspected as having ADHD. And this is a condition which causes a great deal of disability and distress, not only to the individual themselves, but also to their families. Often patients have to resort to private diagnostics, which is extremely expensive. And following that, then they have to pay privately for any medication or treatment which is recommended by the private consultant. So I think that there's a great deal of need out there, and I would like this council, if possible, please, to correspond with the Western Health and Social Care Trust, reminding them of the great distress and need that's out there in the community, highlighting the gap of position and asking for an update on how they intend to address this gap in service provision. I would like, if possible, to request that this might be put as an agenda item on an upcoming meeting of the Health and Social Care Committee, Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I've just got an indication from Councillor McGrath that he would second your proposal, Josephine. So I think that's agreed, members. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We all are proud of our sports stars. I was proud at the weekend that Era Og won the Ulster Intermediate Hurling Club title, and the Camogues of Era Og qualified then for an All-Ireland as well. So obviously I'll want to be given due recognition. But Councillor Coyle has contacted me regarding a sports star in her area. Councillor Coyle.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I was reading about and people have been telling me about the Fermanagh footballer, Blaine Bogue. Blaine is from Tempo, and at the minute she's playing in Australia very successfully. She's one of 5 Gaelic footballers named on the All-Australian Australian Football League Women of 2025. And I'd like to propose that we recognise her in an appropriate way by writing to her, or if she is at home over the Christmas New Year period, invite her into the council for Chair's reception, as she's an absolute inspiration to so many other girls in sport, and to let her know that we in the Fermanagh and Omagh district area are very proud of her.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
And if I could take a seconder for such a proposal, it'd be okay. Councillor Feely. But there was John Feely, there was competitors there at the back to get in at the same time. Okay, thank you. So both Erin North councillors. Okay, thank you. That's agreed. Now, members, I would take a proposer and a seconder for going into confidential. Anne-Marie Donnelly has proposed and Roy Crawford has seconded. Thank you. So we'll take the necessary pause to go into confidential. of confidential matters, and that's agreed, members. And then we ask our chief executive to do a resume of what happened in confidential matters. And we need a proposer there as well.
Just at the end, Chair. Okay. Thank you, Chair. So just to confirm, while in committee, the Council confirmed and signed the confidential minutes of the Council meeting held on the 4th of November, received an update on a matter arising relating to the Strategic Asset Management Unit, also confirmed the confidential minutes of the Planning Committee, the reconvened Planning Committee, both in October, the November Environmental Services Committee and November Regeneration and Community Committee. There were no matters arising from those committees, Chair, and also confirmed the confidential minutes of the Policy and Resources Committee meeting held on the 12th of November, two matters arising, both relating to legal updates.
Okay. And we second.
Just a proposal.
Yeah, I understand that, but just double checking.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Do that on Monday. Oh, right. Okay. So I'll take a proposer and a seconder then. Councillor Roof and Councillor Gannon, thanks very much for that. So the meeting's reaching a conclusion. This is our final full council meeting before Christmas and the new year. Obviously, we'll have a special council meeting next week, Monday night coming. But I want to wish everybody, obviously, a happy Christmas and a peaceful new year. Nolig Hannah agus ach flian fwy washa Dave Gullier. Okay, so thanks very much. And the meeting has concluded. Right.